Hello world, my name is JB Hu. I'm the representative of our group. It's an honor to have the chance to speak at the first World Economic Forum. Our topic today is retrospect and prospect, the achievements and the orientation of China's FTA. In the following 15 minutes, I will talk about our understandings of the progress of China's FTA. Now, before we start, I'd like to take a minute to express our sincere gratitude to Professor Yu, the teaching assistants, and the volunteers. For their intelligence and their devotion are what made this forum possible. And to everyone here who has made your attendance, for your participation and your enthusiasm are what made this forum a meaningful and memorable event for us all. Thank you. Now, moving on, let's start with a quick review of the definition of FTA and the accomplishments China has made. FTA is the abbreviation for Free Trade Agreement. It is an agreement between at least two countries to reduce trade barriers and to increase trade with each other by eliminating tariffs, import quotas, and preferences on most, if not all, goods and services traded between the member countries. The Chinese government thinks FTA as a platform to further opening up to the outside and speeding up domestic reforms, and an effective approach to integrate into global economy. Currently, China has 20 FTAs under construction, among which 12 FTAs has already been signed and implemented already. China has now signed agreements with ASEAN, Pakistan, Chile, New Zealand, Singapore, Peru, Costa Rica, Iceland, and Switzerland. China has also signed a closer economic partnership agreement, CEPA for short, with the government of the Special Administrative Region of Hong Kong and the government of the Special Administrative Region of Macau, respectively, as well as the Economic Cooperation Framework Agreement with Taiwan, ECFA for short. Among the FTAs that are under negotiation, the CJK FTA and the China-ASEAN FTA are the most important ones. Here we take the CJK FTA as an example for further discussion. The three-letter CJK stands for China, Japan, and Korea, respectively. The CJK countries account for about 16% of world trade in goods and services, about 20% of world's GDP, and about 22% of global population. Efforts on promoting a trilateral economic cooperation among China, Japan, and Korea has been going on for more than a decade. The CJK FTA has the potential to become the backbone of a multilateral region-wide FTA in East Asia initially, and more generally in Asia. The formation of a region-wide FTA in Asia is a key recommendation that has been made by recent studies on Asia economic integration. Such a region-wide FTA could also enable Asian countries to gradually speak up with unified decisions on international trade and investment in global forums and institutions that are responsible for global economic governance. From a purely economic perspective, the CJK FTA thus become the foundation on which an ASEAN plus 3 FTA could be built. Encouragingly, ASEAN has already built bilateral FTAs with each one of the FTA each one of the CJK FTA countries. Simultaneously, a CJK FTA could act as a building block for the two major FTA's economic partnership agreements that are now being pursued. Number one is the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RECP for short, agreement. Among the 16 countries consisting of the 10 ASEAN countries plus Asia, Korea, Japan, India, Australia, and New Zealand. And number two, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP for short, among 12 countries consisting of the USA, Canada, Mexico, Peru, Chile, Brunei, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. Meanwhile, there is also a revival of the interest in APEC FTA among the TPP members countries plus Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, China, Korea, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Russia, and Papua New Guinea. All this provides an even further scope for a CJK FTA to become an enabling factor for multi-trade and investment globalization and investment liberalization, and integration both at the regional and trans-regional levels. Now, despite the promising future, the development of China's FTA will not be an easy journey. Under the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Structure, the development of China's FTA are facing two major challenges. Now, the USA is interfering in the economic cooperation in Eastern Asia by establishing the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, also known as APP, which was intended mainly for the economic benefits of America and other countries, but inevitably impacted other economic organizations in this area. This sets the first challenge against the progress of China's FTA. The other challenge is a rather minor yet demanding one. Chinese mainland, Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan each has one seat in the WTO, which makes it very difficult for China to maintain its economic coherence. So what countermeasures should China take? Firstly, the promotion of China's FTA progress, more specifically, the economic integration of China, Korea, and Japan, the trade liberalization of Eastern Asia under the 10+X structure, and the establishment of a trans-regional FTA of the BRICS will be the best response to the interference of the US government. Secondly, to coordinate the economy objectives and to enhance the economic cooperation of the four Chinese regions. A greater Chinese free trade area may be the fundamental solution. In the end, let's take the long view of the development of China's FTA. What is the future orientation of China's FTA strategy? China's future FTA should be both multi-ethnic and multi-form. Multi-ethnic refers to a combination of cooperative relations with various countries and regions, while multi-form refers to an attitude to make any necessary adjustments according to the different situations of China's trade partners. Another strategy China should take is expanding the framework of China's FTA partnership, meaning that basing on cooperative agreements with commodity trade and service trade, more aspects such as competition policies, government purchase, environmental protection, and intellectual property should be as well covered. Due to the limited time, our presentation is now coming to an end. To draw a conclusion, China has made substantial progress in building its FTA, which has contributed significantly to China's economy. And we believe, by the brilliant leadership of the Chinese government and by the wisdom and diligence of Chinese people, a grander future of China's FTA is not only an expectation. That's all for our presentation. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoy the rest of the talk.
Thank you for Hu Jinbo. I appreciate your oral English. Okay, who is our next speaker? Let's welcome Ying Jie. Oh, I'm sorry. This group changed speakers. Oh, Ying Jie and Dai Guoxin. Okay, both from China.
Dear teachers and all delegates, I'm Dai Guoxin and I feel very honored to stand here. The topic of our group is China's participation in globalization from the transnational cooperation side. Here are our 10 group members. The flow of the speech started from what is transnational corporations, then moved to the development of Chinese local transnational corporations around the world and the foreign transnational corporations development in China. And last, we have a summary of our research. First, let's see what is the transnational corporations. These are some very, very famous transnational corporations around us every day. And I think all of us are quite familiar with this word. Here are some keywords of the definition. Other businesses activities. Next, let's talk about the development of Chinese transnational corporations. The development of Chinese transnational cooperation experienced 4 stages: tentative stage, formation stage, intensive stage, and after the 2002, we stepped into the high development stage. We have 3 graphs from the website of National Bureau of Statistics to show the rapid growth of the FDI at present. First, this group illustrates that from 2007, the index of Chinese FDI to the world has increased dramatically. Especially the year 2007 and the year 2009. This also shows that the highly expansion of Chinese transnational corporations. In 2012, China has firstly growing into the top 3 FDI mother country in the world. The second sheet shows the new changes in industry structure of FDI. As we can see from the sheet, the first column is the statistics from the 2012, and the second is 2011. Shows the new changes in industry structures of FDI. As we can see, the distribution of Chinese FDI is quite diverse. Covers every industry of national economy. From the statistic in 2012, in the first column, the industry in financial sector, service sector, and the education increased a lot. This shows that FDI in the tertiary industry has going into the important place, and the proportion of the primary and the secondary industry is dropping. The third sheet shows the new changes in covered areas of FDI. First, more and more of Chinese transnational corporations. Secondly, obviously, in the trade, the index of FDI in Africa and South America grows very rapidly than in Asia and Europe. However, Asia and Africa is still the most attractive areas for Chinese transnational corporations. Chinese FDI cover more than 95% countries in Asia till 2012. I think this is an amazing proportion. These are the 7 industries of FDI in China. The stock of them shares more than 90% of the total amount of Chinese FDI. And last, we list some titles of FDI and some solutions on it over here. These are the titles of FDI at present and the solution here. This is our result of our discussion, and as the limitation of time, my speech is over here, and welcome my teammate to introduce the development of foreign transnational corporations and summarize. Thank you all.
Hi, good afternoon. So now I will continue the topic. And first, I will talk about the development of multinational companies in China. So, by 2015, HP, Intel, Philips, the representative of multinational company, will celebrate the anniversary of 30 years in China. So the development of foreign investment in China can be divided into 3 stages. From 1979 to 1991 can be used as the first phase. And from 1992 to 2001 is the second phase. And the third stage is after 2002. So the first stage, modern enterprises and modern industries. The amount of investment in China is limited. Mainly, they are the sales of goods or technology transfer. The modern manufacturing industry, such as Chinese cars, home appliances, communication equipment, beverage, engineering, machinery, etc., were all generated and developed by multinational technologies import. So the second stage, competition, stimulation, harmony. The multinational companies invest in China have had a rapid growth. And the mode of investment also have changed. The technology transfer was no longer existed. Multinational companies tend to directly set up manufacturing, assembly enterprises in China. So at the same time, many private enterprises have entered the modern manufacturing industry. The entry of large number of foreign companies and the rise of private enterprises brought considerable pressure to state-owned enterprises. It also increased the intensity of market competition. Meanwhile, the atmosphere helped the growth of state-owned enterprises. So through the competition and promotion of a variety of ownership economy, China's modern industry developed rapidly. And China became the world's major manufacturing base. So after accession to the WTO, Chinese industries account for a big percentage of world industry, including iron, steel, household appliances, communication equipment, and etc. So the third stage, last stage, the new pattern. So since China entered the WTO, mergers and acquisitions investment gradually become an important way of investment for multinational companies. Multinational M&A can make China various industries bigger and stronger. So it is promoting the transformation and industrial restructuring. It improves China's international status. But unfortunately, many people have doubts about the multinational companies' mergers and acquisitions in China. So now I would like to talk about the impacts. So first, the positive impacts. Multinational companies actively promote to establish and maintain good economic cooperation relationship between China's and the home countries on the basis of its own interest. With the growing scale of multinational companies to invest in China, the relationship between enterprise interests and Chinese market is getting closer and closer. So multinational companies are paying more attention to the relationship between their home countries and China. And the second impact. So business model of multinational companies in China are incorporated into the global business strategy and business networks. So which makes China's foreign economic activities become an important part of economic globalization, and it allows China to participate in the global economics through peaceful and fair market exchange ways. So rather than absorb or integrate the international resource through violent or unfair trade means. So about the negative impacts. So the negative impact of multinational companies on China's economy. The first will be monopoly. So as probably most of you guys know, there's a monopoly in industry, brand monopoly, or technical monopoly, industry standard monopoly. And also, the strengthening of multinational company monopoly trends in China intensively the dependence on foreign capital to China's economic development. Increase the difficulty of industrial structure adjustment upgrade. So countermeasures. Those are the three actions that the government body can do. And I would like to expand about the second measure. So passing the anti-monopoly legislation to against the strengthening of the multinational company monopoly trends in China. And due to the time, I will go directly to summary. So as China has obtained a great achievement of economic development and our native enterprises has expanded, many people think that we can develop the economy by ourselves. And then they wonder if it is necessary to let foreign multinational companies to share or grab our economic interests. But actually it is a misunderstanding. We should correctly evaluate that open capital has a positive role in pushing the generation and development of modern industry and modern enterprises, and promoting the reform of economic management system and the transformation of economic operation mechanism in our country. So in this way, it helps people act correctly, understand the experience and the significance of China's reform and opening up, adhere to the open investment and promote stable and rapid development of countries. So that's all for my speech. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you very much, Yin and Farrell. So now let's welcome our next speaker, Gideon, and he's from Ghana.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think it's an honor to be here to share my views about the integration of China into the global economy. My name, as mentioned earlier, is Gideon Kenna from Ghana, and a second year student in the Financial Economics and Trade. I'll be talking about China's integration into economic globalization. Yeah, I'll be talking about China's integration into economic globalization, focusing on China's reassertion into WTO role and strategies. Due to that, I personally come up with a theme called The Journey to the West. Why the journey to the West? China, by its accession to the WTO, opens its doors to other countries, especially coming from the American sector to the African sector. So to me, it is a journey going to the western part of the globe. Why a reaccession? The WTO, China's accession to the WTO is not the first of its kind in China's process to integrate with the outside world. It is a reaccession because after the Republic of China came out with its convention around 1949, it had a chance to go into the WTO, but it refused due to its own reasons, which we will later find during the presentation. Our roadmap. First, we'll be looking at economic globalization, and we're going to talk about the WTO and the Chinese perspective, strategies and adjustments that China did as it processed into the WTO. We'll talk about benefits of WTO to China and its evidence. We'll talk about the contribution to the world, and we'll make deductions and we'll conclude. Before we start the vote, I would like to introduce some few data references from the WTO, Wikipedia, some official Chinese websites, and Google. What is economic globalization? I won't spend much time here, but as our previous speakers have already defined what economic globalization is, but I would like to stress out on the main founding point of economic globalization. It's basically integrating international nations by opening up ways by which goods should be exported and imported across borders, but virtually eliminating any country borders to the satisfaction of consumers, both imported and exporters. What are the propellers of economic globalization? Advancement of science and technology is the basic way at which economic globalization propels. This is due to the fact that it has made the world a small village, that we call a global village, that we can reach out to any part of the country, any part of the globe, in just a matter of seconds through the invention of technology such as the websites and other avenues. Market-oriented economic reforms. The world has come to a stage at which it doesn't really depend on imposing stuff on nations by the kind of goods that should be produced and what the consumer should be consuming. It's basically going to an area where the consumer, based on its own demand and supply adjustments, tells what should really be produced in the world. Contribution by multinational corporations. We are in a state by which multinationals do not see their own host nations as the only source of market that they will engage in. So they look out to extending their over production, that's the excess production, to other countries around the globe. Transport and communication. As earlier mentioned, the invention of technology, now you can make calls to any part of the nation just in a matter of seconds. And it has also, the advancement of technology has brought about larger big ships that will take off large amount of commodities to be transported around the world. Before we proceed, I would like to take a brief moment to go through the profile of the WTO. What is the WTO? It's basically the World Trade Organization, and it's the only global international organization dealing with the rules of trade between nations. At its heart are the WTO agreement, negotiated and signed by the bulk of the world's trading nations, ratified in their parliament. The goal is to help producers of goods and services, exporters, importers, and conduct their businesses. It was first established in January 1995 and located in Geneva, in Switzerland. Currently consists of 160 countries as at June 2014. And it is headed by Roberto Azevedo, if the pronunciation is okay. He's a Brazilian, as we could see. So, in the economic world, with regards to trade, he's the president of the world. What does WTO function? Its basic function is administering WTO trade agreements, forum for trade negotiations, handling trade disputes, monitoring national trade policies, technical assistance and training for developing countries, cooperation with other international organizations. So basically, it provides a forum at which other nations, not only nations, but other multinationals to come into a table, to come into agreement about trade policies, tariffs, and others. The Chinese perspective of globalization. Globalization is often seen as a double-edged sword that brings about opportunities, challenges, advantages, and disadvantages. How to turn these advantages into advantages in the tidal wave of globalization depends on formulating correct policies and strategies. I came across an interesting article by Xi Ming, a member of the Chinese Center for Third World. He likened globalization to is like swimming in the sea in summer. One can enjoy the cooling feel of the water, and swimming can improve the physique, but one also runs the risk of catching cold and even drowning. The developed countries are good swimmers, while developing countries are less strong in physical strength and poorer in swimming technique of swimming, or even just beginners. It is only natural that they feel very differently about swimming in the sea. This could somehow bring about the main reason why China refused to join the WTO at the initial stage, because it felt that it had not really gotten a state that it could really dine with the big dogs of the world. This shows the picture about how China views economic globalization. It is dining with the big giants of the world, rich nations and other multinationals from America and others, and that is where the poorer nations suffer. So, before China was able to join the WTO, it took them about 15 years, when it's normally out of rational for any nation to really wait. So this would tell the importance of joining the WTO to the Chinese government. Due to that, they have to sign to a lot of protocols, but I'm just going to stress on just two main aspects of the protocol that is signed. China, to be able to integrate with the other part of the world, has to give the market access to both the goods and the service market, which really has compelled China to reduce average tariffs around 8.9, which is relatively less than any part of the Asian world. It also opened it for foreign investors, including financial, telecommunication, and distribution of legal services, which is really funded by the GATT, that's General Agreement on Trade and Services. So China, by doing this, helps open doors for other multinationals to also enter. That's why you find in other international banks operating in China nowadays. This shows the tariff percentage of China as at 2010. That's closely to 10%. Now, dining with the big dogs put China in a tight corner, giving it some disadvantage. But one would ask, why would China still try to dine with the big dogs whilst it knows that it has not really developed to that extent of dining with the big dogs? There are two basic reasons why China joined the WTO. China was in the state at reforming its policies and its economy. So it's viewed the WTO accession as the economic reform industrialization as a key to fastening and enabling the nation to readjust to the trends of the economic world nowadays. This could be evidenced in a premier Jew, Ronyi, who stated that if China did not join the WTO, it is impossible to restructure and sustain economic growth. Second is, now let's go to the strategies of which China adjusted it. Due to the perception that the nation had about globalization, they were supposed to make some education about what the policies of the WTO and its importance to China as a whole. China also readjusted its policies about 1,000 policies of national and governmental and regional laws. It also used its comparative advantage in labor to also exploit its strength in the international world. Promoting regional cooperation, China saw it as an essence to strengthen itself so that it will be able to also integrate itself to the outside world. Thereby, it's engaged in strengthening its regional laws, such as joining the Asian and Asian Plus 3, which includes Japan, Korea, and other nations. China also viewed as industrialization as a key way to integrating, despite the odds that comes with it. This is because that China saw that its dependence on exportation of goods was too much and it's going to really affect their nation. So they tried to industrialize, putting them into a final good and creating a domestic market for its goods. It found that the contribution of the WTO to China. China also got benefit of economic stability and as speedy economic reform and economic growth, which could be evidenced in which could be evidenced in its FDA importation into the nation. You could see from 2001 is a rocketing performance by the Chinese with export and import. This shows the economic growth by GDP growth rate. China gave the world a better part of its contribution by giving a large market consumption within its population and global balancing and the fight for equal share of the world by providing an equal platform for both developing and developed nations. Despite the challenges that come.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, time's up. Okay, thank you for your effort. Now questions and discussion again. And before we start this part, I should emphasize again, when you want to ask your questions, please say your name, where are you come from, and then ask your question. So another thing is that your performance you behave in this section will be scored. So it means that the more active you behave, the higher scores you will achieve. So please be more active. Okay, let's begin. Who want to be the first one to ask the question? Okay. boy.
I have a question not only
Okay,
for.
please say your name. Where are you coming from?
My name is Chen. I'm from China, and I was a teammate of Han Qihong, the first speaker in this seminar. And I have a question not only, the first I mentioned this question is for Wu Jingbo, but then I think that other team can answer this question. My question is, we know that one belt and one road, or to say that 一带一路 in Chinese, a strategy aiming at promoting regional integration. What do you think that the impact that one belt and one road will have on China's FTA? And I want to hear some deep answer.
Okay, thank you for your question. I'm the group leader of the B1, and our speaker is Jingbo. And I'd like to answer the question of Chen. First, as the OBAOR, which is can be explained in Chinese as 海上丝绸之路，就是那个一带一路的那个。First of all, the country involved in the OBAOR has historical cooperation with China. So when we cooperate with these countries, we have the fundamental to keep on cooperation. So that would make us much more easier than the countries we have never cooperated with. And second of all, since the OBAOR has involved in so many countries which are already involved in many FTAs such as the European Union and so on. So when we cooperate with these countries, it will help us to promote the process of China's FTA, and it will have certain influence on the active influence. And second of all, since there are some pressure in certain China's areas which has excess capacities, cooperate with these countries to decrease the pressure. And meanwhile, it will promote the process of China's FTA and China's industrial transfer and upgrade industries. And that's my answering. Thank you.
Thank you for answering. And from answering, I know things what is going on. I know if any foreign speaker will answer my question, because I want to see some different views. Is any foreign speaker want to answer my question? One belt and one road? No? Okay.
I'm a Chinese postgraduate majoring in world economics, and I want to ask the question to Ying Mingjie, the group of Ying Mingjie. With China's participating in globalization, what's the risks of Chinese corporations in their expanding on a world scale?
Sorry, can you repeat your questions?
With China's participating in globalization, what's the risk of Chinese corporations in their expanding on a world scale?
You need to translate it.
Yeah, you can simple your question. I'll make your question simple, and maybe I can understand.
你刚才 translate in Chinese？ OK， 就是在跨国公司进行国际化的扩张过程中，你觉得中国的企业面临哪一些风险 ？Okay, I think the first maybe some national safety is the most priority of the China will China face the problems, and maybe the how we sometimes call it. The second is the culture shock, just the transnational corporations to face the globalization, and they may have some culture shock that different countries have different cultures and they cannot understand it. I think that's my answer.
Okay, before we move on, I want to introduce that participant. She is our senior, and she is a student who is a pro-graduate student from the International Economic and Trade. Thank you for joining us.
I'm from group A, number 1, 2, and I have some questions. My name is Song Yinan, and I come from China. I have some questions for group B1 for group of Hu Jinbo. So I noticed that you have mentioned about TPP, and we all know that Japan has made some negotiations with TPP, and they have made some progress. So as for China, what do you think of the advantages and disadvantages of joining the TPP?
First of all, you need to understand this is not a very easy question. So I can only give you the answer by listing the pros and cons. Yeah. The pros are, I think number 1, joining the TPP will promote China's economy, that's for sure. And number 2, it's good for China to balance its trade structure, and number 3, maybe it will be easier for China to obtain its main economic position in Asia Pacific area. Yeah. And as for the cons, if China joins the TPP, the sudden reduce of tariffs may lead impacts on China's domestic tradable industries, and the opening up of the service industries will bring competition to the domestic industries, and especially finance industries, because the finance industries of China are not very mature. Yeah, and finally, by comparison, the intellectual property of China are not mature too. So if we put Chinese corporations into a environment or circumstance where there are high standards of intellectual property, it may be a very hard chance for them to make. Yes, that's all for my answers.
Hello everyone. My name is Zhang, and I come from China. I'm the member of the group with Tan Quihong. I want to ask the third speaker. Sorry, I haven't remember his name. Do you like China? Do you know China well?
To my own capabilities, it's okay.
Okay. My question is that, as we all know, there are many benefits brought by globalization, such as promoting our development of the economy. But there are many oppositions to the globalization because it also brings much challenges. So, facing the opposite voice, do you think what specific and effective measures or strategies should they China check to avoid it?
Sorry, can you come again with the question? I cannot put together.
Is that, do you think what specific measures or strategies should they China check to avoid it? What specific measures or strategies should they check to?
Is it written down there? Is it written down there? Just give it to him to read. No, you understand it better this way.
My opinion about the strategies that China could employ to really turn its advantage or joining the WTO to a positive manner is by way of undergoing industrialization. When you take a look at China's export, it's really goods that have been like in a semi-finished state are really exported outside the country. So industrializing the companies in China, they could really put the goods in a final form so that it will have a better competitiveness when it goes to the outside nation. And secondly, it also creates a domestic market for itself, because looking at the sources of funds by GDP proportion to trade, you can see that exports really takes a larger proportion of the figures. So what if there is an abrupt change in trend of other nations, major exporting nations for China? What really happens to China? So to me, it's better for them to really build a home kind of consumption for their own goods. So whatever happens to the outside world, in their own walls of China, they have a better compensation for it. That's right.
Okay, thank you for the answer.
Okay, final question.
Hello, my name is Long Hai from B1, Group Group, and I want to ask a question to B2, Ying and the Divorces Group. I noticed that you have mentioned that China promotes more and more active in international affairs over the last years. And you mentioned in your presentation that Chinese FDI increased rapidly, and China has organized or joined into more and more transnational corporations over the last years. And however, you know that all Chinese corporations are too young. Although we become more and more active, however, the corporations are too young, and I think they do not have the power to compete with those macro corporations. And my question is, how do you see the Chinese international corporations? What can we do to improve their competitiveness to become macro corporations? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Changcheng. I'm from the Yimingjian and Daryl Group. First, the government should be use the micro and the macro policy to guide and promote the transnational corporations to improve their competitiveness, especially focus on the system and the structure reforms. Second, as the transnational corporations themselves should consider the following points in the macro aspect to enhance the international image so that the local countries would enhance the trust on service theory. Immersing in local culture can help the corporation avoid the loss of business management caused by cultural differences to ensure the company expertise stays relatively stability. And in the macro aspect, teaching business lines based on states analysis, position the dominate technology, the market, the product, and the sales to extract the value, analyze the demand of the target population, draw up the sales strategy, suiting the transnational corporations measures to local conditions. Thank you.
You say that we should notice the international partners and to pay attention to the international strategy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you everyone. I know this part may be a bit challenging for us, but all of us participants have written some funny or meaningful questions and has given the quick response to share their distinctive perspectives and ideas. And now we move on to the next part. As China is going through globalization, there are many developments to the Chinese market, and these developments have affected the rest of the world in many ways. And now we shall look at what are some of the global opportunities that have come about due to China's development. So the third topic is China's development, opportunities and challenges. And now let's welcome our first speakers, Chen Haihui from China.